All throughout Diablo 4's lifespan so far, from beta and season 1 and all of that, my sentiment has been mostly positive. I've always said that the canvas is there for a great game. When the game started and like my post beta ratings, my ratings were usually around a 6.5, 7 out of 10. And I said that the base canvas is there for a great game, but it's not there yet. There's going to need to be some changes that occur for this game to get to an 8.5 or a 9, where I can really give it that stamp of like, this game is awesome. But I've always said that the feel of the combat and the look of the game and the audio and the open world environment and how things look, that it has a canvas to be successful, but it's going to need some changes. And I was always leaning towards being positive about the game because I was like, look, this game is going to make $1 billion. Blizzard is going to be highly incentivized to make sure that this game does well and is nurtured, because there's going to be all sorts of DLC and expansion pack opportunities to more than double the revenue they've already had so far post-launch. They've already talked about multiple expansions plural with an S. So instead of something like Diablo 3 where we got one expansion, we're probably going to see 2 of them in Diablo 4, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that we're going to see DLC packs like we saw with the Necromancer in Diablo 3, where they sold the Necromancer for I think like $10 to $15. They released it as a DLC to try and make sure the game is still generating revenue. And then also in Diablo 4, they have battle passes around their seasons, so it's not crazy to think that they could more than double even the revenue they get from the initial launch and sales. But not if they let the game die. If the game doesn't sustain and have popular seasons, then that won't happen. And that's why I was always in the positive camp, because I was like, there's just too many resources at their disposal, and there's just too much of a reason to keep the game healthy, that I'm sure we're going to see it very robustly supported. And I still do believe that, but there are some things that concern me. And I don't like to be negative, but I do have to be real and authentic and honest. And the interesting thing from the perspective of a content creator is no matter what you do, you're going to get criticized. Like if you're positive about the game, people are going to say that you're a shill and you're just saying nice things because you're a Blizzard partner and you want the game to do well, so your videos will get more views. So you're just a shill and that's why you're positive. If you're negative, then you get called a hater. And if you don't like the game, why don't you just quit? We want content that's actually positive about the game. Or you're just trying to farm the hate, negativity views. So ultimately, if you're going to get criticized no matter what, you might as well just be honest and share your authentic opinion. And that's really all you can do. If people agree or disagree or like you or dislike you, that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and be honest about what I think. And I would say the main reason for doing this video is right now is season 1. It's the initial launch season of Diablo 4. This is supposed to be the honeymoon phase. This is supposed to be when I'm dying to play. I'm dying to get to my computer when I have free time and get in Discord calls with my friends and theorycraft and play. This is like the honeymoon phase when it's supposed to be the most fun. And what I'm feeling, if I'm just honest with myself, is I'm not excited to log in and grind. And I'm seeing this happen with a lot of my other friends that are content creators and clan mates and stuff. I can kind of feel that sentiment among other people where it's like, yeah, the game is decent, but I'm not really excited to play. And we're only like, what, 2.5, 3 weeks into season 1. Like, this is supposed to be go time. This is supposed to be when it is the most crazy. It's like if you get married and literally on your honeymoon after the wedding, if you find yourself not wanting to really be excited about being around that person, that might not be a good sign. And I think there's a few different reasons for that sentiment kind of shifting in that direction, and that is the vast lack of quality of life in the game. Like, not being able to move your Paragon points easily. Like, you can't reset them. You have to go through and do hundreds of clicks to reset your Paragon board. And then looting and selling and inventory management and looking for new gear and upgrades is way too tedious. Like going to town and clearing your inventory and kind of managing all of that, and then walking 30 seconds to your stash and coming back, and just that whole process is way too convoluted in Diablo 4. You've got 100 yellows on the ground, and there's really no indication of which one is good or bad. There's no sort of loot filter. Having to sift through hundreds of yellows and read each one individually and be like, wait, so what are the rules on that? What's the aspect? Okay, I want to salvage this. I want to sell this. I need to drop this off in my stash. This one has this color of socket, so I need to save that for this build. I've only got 3 stash tabs. Okay, so I need to mule this on a new character. Like this whole thought process every time you farm and every time you go to town needs a massive overhaul. And before I start going down the rabbit hole of getting too negative and too critical, I do want to commend Blizzard on the fact that they are trying to be transparent and interact with the community. I think it's really cool that they do these like 1 or 2 hour developer campfire chats, and they take questions and they explain their thought process, and they jump in and they do patches pretty regular and pretty consistent, and they're making balance changes every week or two. So I do want to give them credit where credit is due. I hope they continue doing that, and that is a good sign. That's a check mark in the positive direction for them. But there's also tons of concerns, and I'm not sure patches are going to fix those concerns. I think we're probably at some point, we're going to need to see a Diablo 3 style overhaul. We're going to need to see a change of the system. We're going to need to see a change of the end game, a change in loot filters and how looting and selling and sifting through gear works, a change in how aspects are managed on your account and imprinted on gear. I don't think a small patch is going to fix these things, even if there's 100 of them. We're going to need to see a full overhaul of Diablo 4 at some point in the next year, like we got when Reaper of Souls was added to Diablo 3. And one thing that really concerns me is how long it's going to take to add a gem tab to the inventory. This is something that is clearly obvious, has been addressed since day one. Blizzard saying they know this needs to happen, and we hear your concern, and we agree that it needs to be there. But now we're saying that a gem tab isn't going to be there until season 2, maybe season 3. Like, it just can't take 6 months to add a gem tab. Not when you have 800 million in revenue. Like, something's wrong there with the workflow. If it takes 6 months to add a gem tab to my inventory, then there's something going on there. There's a chink in the armor. There's a break in the system, and that worries me, because just putting a gem tab and putting them off to the side or something, or having some sort of way to change that, that should be something that takes a couple weeks or a month at worst. And we saw this also with the stash tabs. It took way too long to add a stash tab, and they're talking about how it's because they load in with the different players, and oh my goodness, I have Legos in here. But yeah, how these stash tabs like load in based on players that are on screen or you interact with on the environment. So a little bit of an issue there with the code, in my opinion, that's going to cause problems long term, and maybe a problem that should have been thought about long ago. But there's things like this that are just taking too long. I mean, this is 2023. There's thousands of games. You can't take a year to add a gem tab. If you're evolving that slowly, you're dead. You're gone. It's over. You're gonna lose to games that come down the pipeline like Path of Exile 2. People are clearly super excited for Path of Exile 2, and there is obviously a massive demand. There's a thirst from gamers for an RPG that's fun and engaging and has a fun loot grind and an end game. Like, the demand is there, and you can see that in how hyped up people are for Path of Exile. And it was the same thing for Diablo 4. People were insanely hyped up and very, very positive during the beta and during everything that was going on. And then that sentiment shifted once they got in and saw the lack of quality of life and the lack of endgame, and how hard it is to sift through loot, and how unfun the loot grind is, and how slow things like stash tabs and gem tabs are being added to the game to help players. And then the thing that confuses me is it's not even like, well, changing anything, no matter how small, there's a lot that goes into it, and it's going to take a few weeks or months to make sure we do it right. That can't be true, because every time I do a video about a new area to farm that is super broken and efficient and giving tons of XP, I do a video on Maugan's Works because it's giving 45 million XP an hour. Bang, it is completely adjusted and changed literally within hours, like overnight. I did a video on that at like probably 6 or 7 p.m. and then it was done. Like when we were farming it that night, they completely changed the dungeon and how the mobs spawn in there, and all of that density was gone, and it got adjusted right away. So it's like some things we can do in 15 minutes, and then some things take 7 months, and they both seem pretty comparable. Adding a stash tab, that's not something that requires new assets or some crazy amount of work. It's literally just adding another tab here to the stash. And I understand from a developer's standpoint, there's going to be back-end stuff to worry about, like there's more assets in game to store, and I understand some of the challenges, but what I'm saying is there's something broken in the workflow if something like adding a stash tab or adding a gems tab takes multiple months, or for the gems tab, it could be 5-6 months. And look, it's not like I'm quitting the game or I'm raging or I hate Diablo 4. It's actually the opposite. I would want nothing more than for Diablo 4 to be the #1 game on Earth. That would be amazing for me. I would be so ecstatic about that. I want that to happen. So like my criticisms and my critiques and me coming off like I'm ranting, it's not coming from a negative place. I genuinely want Diablo 4 to succeed and do amazing. I've been a Diablo fanboy my whole life. It's not like I'm in the Diablo community trying to farm content lazy for views or something and just clickbait off Diablo 4. I genuinely love the game. I've played thousands of hours of every single Diablo game. Diablo 1 was my first multiplayer experience of my life back when I was like 12 years old, and I still remember it to this day. Like, I am a Diablo fanboy, but I do have to be honest about some of the concerns that are really bothering me right now. Because the thing is, season 1 should not feel like it's dead 2 or 3 weeks in when it's the first season of Diablo 1. It should still be hopping. It should still be hype. I should still have clan mates everywhere and friends everywhere wanting to play. It shouldn't feel barren and like, I guess let's wait until season 2 and see what's next. That shouldn't be how season 1 feels. So it definitely is a little bit concerning to me, and I want to talk about that a little bit here in a video. But it's not like I'm going to be quitting. I'm not, uninstalling Diablo 4 or deleting my channel or moving on to different games or anything. I'm still going to be producing daily content, and I'm still going to be grinding and working on build guides and getting my fair share of positive content out there as well. But I do want to be honest here on the channel, and if I'm feeling good about something, I'll say it. If I'm feeling bad about something, I'll say it. And if you disagree and you want to voice your opinion on where you agree or disagree, or like what I said or didn't like what I said, that's perfectly fine, and you can leave that down in the comment section, and I always enjoy hearing your thoughts as well. But that's kind of like where my mind is right now. I've got definite concerns, and I'm a little bit bummed out about how season 1 is going so far, but I'm still going to be playing the game long term, and I still am passionate about the Diablo community, and I still want to cover the game and do build guides and all of that. So that's kind of where I stand as of right now. So yeah, if you made it this far, thank you for listening to my opinion, and I would love to hear where your opinion compares to mine as well. So I will see you soon in the next video. Have a good rest of your weekend. Peace.